The Tet Offensive made it clear that the communists had changed their tactics. But they didn't do it overnight. Despite optimistic reports to the contrary, it's been changing for a long time.
U.S. and Vietnamese troops.
3 weeks after the January 31st surprise Tet Offensive began, U.S. and South Vietnamese forces have successfully driven the NVA and VC out of almost every major city hit during the attack. Khe Sanh still remains embattled, but for the most part, the U.S. military is returning to its strategy of search and destroy, chasing the retreating enemy into the countryside. Second Lieutenant Barry Romo is back in the field outside Chu Lai, where it is believed that several hundred enemy soldiers who fled the city are now hiding.
All of a sudden I hear a huge explosion behind me. Everyone hits the ground. When I look up, I see my platoon sergeant laying in a pool of blood. He stepped on a mine. We were just headed to LZ for pickup. Another 15 minutes, and we would have all made it out of here just fine. As we're getting loaded, one of my men tells me there's someone looking for me. I head over to the chopper he points towards. And as I get close, I see this major hold up a sign.
He had written, "Your nephew Robert has been killed. Your brother Harold requests that you escort the body home. Will you escort the body home?" And he didn't say, "I'm sorry." He didn't verbally say it to me. He didn't have the decency of a human connection. He had to write it down.
I can barely process what just happened. My brother had written to tell me that Bobby got drafted and was sent over here. But I was never able to see him. And now he's dead. When we get back to base, the staff sergeant comes up to me.
Told me how Bobby had been killed. He'd been in a major operation in a place called Dong Hong, where they were working with the Marines. A friend had been shot, and just like in the movies, he had stood up and ran to help his friend. And he got shot in the throat, drowned in his own blood.
As the news sinks in, I start to realize something else. I'm leaving Vietnam. And I'm never going to see any of my guys again. What's going to happen to them when I'm not here?
I don't know.
Who's going to take care of them and make sure they get through this thing alive? After everything I've been through, after everything all of us have been through, it kills me to know that I'm leaving them behind. When I went to Vietnam, we thought we could win. Anyone who goes now after the Tet Offensive knows that they are going to fight for a lost cause.
Tet Offensive becomes a turning point, not only for the U.S. military, but for journalists covering the war. On February 27th, CBS anchor Walter Cronkite, known as the most trusted man in America, returns from a week-long trip to Vietnam and steps out of his role as a reporter to offer his personal view on the war.
To say that we are closer to victory today is to believe, in the face of the evidence, the optimists who have been wrong in the past. To suggest we are on the edge of defeat is to yield to unreasonable pessimism. To say that we are mired in stalemate seems the only realistic, if unsatisfactory, conclusion. But it is increasingly clear to this report that the only rational way out then will be to negotiate, not as victors, but as an honorable people who lived up to their pledge to defend democracy and did the best they could.